You know what it is? 2026 is just the year of the sack. Because today, February 11th, marks another day where two, not only one, two Premier League managers have been sacked. This morning was the first victim, Thomas Frank, Tottenham Hotspur. They let him know, yo, you're out of here. Pack your bags. You're gone. And just now, literally like an hour ago, I get the news that Sean Dyche has been sacked by Nottingham Forest. I was honestly going to make this video about Thomas Frank because, I think it was something that a lot of people are talking about at the current moment. I don't think anyone really expected Sean Dyche to get sacked. So I figured I might as well talk about both of them. But Thomas Frank, guys, let's start with him. Thomas Frank. I think, honestly, let's call it what it is. Nobody's surprised. Nobody's surprised. This was bound to happen. It was more so when. It was more so when would Tottenham pull the trigger, because I feel like with someone like Thomas Frank, it was like a time ticking bomb. He has, for a continuous run of games now, he has proven week after week after week that he cannot manage his football club. He's way out of his depth. He's obviously brought in last summer after Ange won Tottenham Hotspur the Europa League to come in and steady the ship, because Ange, that Premier League record, they did well in the Europa League, obviously they won it, but the Premier League finishing 17th was absolutely horrific. One of the worst feats in Tottenham Hotspur history. And Thomas Frank was meant to come in and kind of just stabilize things, Tottenham were so leaky at the back defensively. They conceded too many goals. And Thomas Frank, obviously what he did, his work with Brentford, that body of work, such a well-drilled team, pragmatic. They were kind of well-equipped in some way or form to face practically any team in the Premier League. And we all thought at the time that Thomas Frank would leave Brentford to join Spurs to elevate his managerial game, his managerial vision, what he wanted to achieve as a manager. Because he took the blueprint that he had at Brentford and he applied it to Spurs. Now, unfortunately, it hasn't worked out in any shape or form, because he has 2 wins from the last 17 games, which is just horrific. They sit 16th in the Premier League, 5 points above the relegation zone. It just keeps getting worse. Whatever metric you want to look at it, I think he has like a 27 or 21% win rate or something like that. He is simply way out of his depth. And I think that, sometimes it's okay to hold up your hands and say, yep, this isn't for me. This isn't for me. I'm not fit enough to run this football club. Because more often than not, when you see the games, when you see Tottenham Hotspur play football, it's boring, it's lethargic, it's plain, it's bland. There's no bite to their game. It's boring. Genuinely, Spurs fans, if you're watching this video, Spurs fans that I know personally, they absolutely hate this guy. They don't like watching their team play, and I think that's the number one thing from a football club, from a football fans' point of view. That's what you're looking for. Do I want to actually watch and wake up to watch this team play week in, week out? And what he did at Brentford, the style of football, it's simply just meant for those type of clubs. No disrespect to Brentford, no disrespect to the Brightons, etc., because the recruitment process is somewhat the same. I just think with Tottenham, their fans are so predicated on the fact that, yeah, they lived during the Pochettino days where they were battling for top 4, battling for titles in 1 or 2 seasons. That's what they're predicated on. That's what they've grown up to actually watch and see, especially in the last decade or so. Their slogan is literally "to dare is to do." They want to go out there, risk it all. And that's why some of them actually stuck with Ange, because Ange's style, it's similar to Flick. I call him Timu Flick for a reason. Similar to Flick in the sense where it's so kamikaze at times. I remember that game against Chelsea when Tottenham were down to 9 men. This is when Ange was managing the club. They still lost the game, but it's the fact that they were still stubborn on keeping that ridiculous high line. They were exposed defensively. Jackson got the most Mickey Mouse hat-trick on earth. But that's something that Spurs fans still live by, because if it wasn't for that mindset, if it wasn't for his, footballing philosophy, which was daring, which is, inviting, which was actually exciting to watch at times, that's how they won the Europa League. And that's why there's a split between, people who actually support Ange and people who actually don't. Ultimately, Ange got sacked because of their performance in the Premier League, and rightly so, to be honest, because I don't think any manager, especially a Tottenham Hotspur manager, should be at the club the season after they finish 17th. And Thomas Frank hasn't been able to improve that. They're worse. They're literally worse at this point of the season last year in the Premier League, playing worse football. Obviously, their injury list is so bad. That shouldn't be underestimated whatsoever. I feel like that does play a huge part into why they're playing bad. But at the same time, when you compare the squads or the starting 11 that Tottenham still put out to this day, even with their injuries, I'm sorry, disregard the fact that it's against Newcastle, because Newcastle still have a good squad on paper. But I'm saying, when you look at the table, when you look at this team, they're sitting 16th right now. This team, their squad is so much better than Leeds, than Brighton, than Forest, than West Ham, than Burnley, than Wolves. They should be above Fulham. They should be above Sunderland. They should be top 10. Realistically, that squad, that Premier League squad that they're feeling out week in, week out, That's a top 10 squad, whether you want to admit it or not. Obviously, when it comes down to certain players and qualities, etc., that's different, right? Ultimately, the reason that they're actually down there is because of Thomas Frank and his footballing philosophy. It's just a mismatch. It's a complete mismatch from how they want to play. And you can tell the minute actually I realized, yeah, this is done for Frank, is that moment where I think they lost at home. I might have been to Bournemouth, or I forgot who it was. Maybe it was to Chelsea, actually, when they lost at home. And I think it was Mickey van de Ven. Was it either Jed Spence? I forgot. Two players. It was Mickey van de Ven and someone. Might have been Jed Spence. After the game, Thomas Frank goes to shake their hands. They completely disregard him. Don't even look at him in the eye. Don't even say clap to the Spurs fans or whatever. They just walk down the tunnel. They had enough. They completely had enough. And that's when I knew Thomas Frank's days were limited. And I don't think Thomas Frank has any, reason to hide. Obviously the whole thing with the Arsenal Cup, you're a Spurs manager. The fact that you're using an Arsenal Cup, the fact that you're praising them in press conferences, that's already a bad look. You then get back to the summer, you bring in big money names, big money signings, whatever. You're allowed to spend money on this football club as a manager. But I'm sorry, spending that much too, it just simply isn't reflective on the performances. The performances and the results simply what matter. But I think the biggest question from all this is, who can Spurs replace Thomas Frank with? That's the biggest question, because I feel like Frank deserves to get sacked. No doubt about it. That's not a question. The biggest question is, now Spurs fans will look at the owners. They will look at the owners because now they have 12 days. 12 whole days, or 11 now, sorry. It was 12 days yesterday. 11 days until the North London derby. 11 days to make a big club decision. Do they go with an interim manager? Do they go with a completely new manager? I've been hearing De Zerbi links. I've been hearing, Maresca links. I've been hearing, all sorts of links. I've been hearing Xavi links. You know what the media does? They link so many managers to this position. Can they make the right decision in management this time? Because I feel like, look, with Spurs, it ultimately is a curse, right? After Pochettino left, Mourinho can save the club. Conte couldn't save the club. Those are two top managers in our lifetime. Two top managers couldn't come and save the club. From then on, I knew, this club is cursed. Two really, really good managers come in and they couldn't save your club. The writing's on the wall with Spurs, man. But I feel like Ange brought some light. Ange brought some spirit. But ultimately, again, the results weren't in his favor. And now Thomas Frank. Thomas Frank is probably by far the worst of the lot. Also, another point I want to make is, a lot of people are talking about how Tottenham shouldn't be relegated. They shouldn't. It's Tottenham Hotspur. They're a well-established Premier League club. They shouldn't be relegated. Why not? They almost got relegated last year. They have the same status as relegation candidates, as Forest, as Leeds, as Brighton, as Palace. The fact that there's 10 points between 8th place in the Premier League and 17th place in the Premier League says it all. No team is big enough to not go down. Any club can go down in the Premier League. It's this volatile. The table is so volatile this year. You actually have to consider it. Why not? Tottenham can easily get relegated this season, and rightly so. If you go down, you deserve to go down because of how volatile the Premier League is. Tottenham can easily win their next 2 games. They can win their next 2 games. Obviously not easily because they're in terrible form. They can win their next 2 games, and that, because of how volatile this league is, they can go from 16th to 11th in 2 games. So I don't understand the whole idea of Tottenham are too big to be relegated. That's honestly nonsense, because they're there for a reason. In fact, I think if it wasn't for United scoring last minute against West Ham yesterday, they would have been, 3 points? They would have been 3 points above the drop zone. Crazy, man. But anyways, let's get on to Sean Dyche. Nottingham Forest, man. When was the last time you guys remember a Premier League club having 4 managers manage the same club in 1 season? Nuno Espirito Santos. I don't even know if I pronounced his name right, but yeah, that guy. Ange Postecoglou. Sean Dyche. And now, I don't know who the next one is. We'll have to wait and see. And now the 4th man. 4 managers. 1 club. That is insane, man. That is insane. I don't know what it is, because Sean Dyche was supposed to come in and get this team out of relegation. I think he came in during the time where I think Forest was sitting at 19th or 18th. Now they're at 17th, 3 points above the drop zone. He effectively did get them out of relegation. I kind of feel like eventually they would have. I think Forest, they have a good enough team to stay up. But again, like I said, this table is so volatile. The fact that Burnley beat Palace today showcases why this, anything between 10th and 20th this season, it's unpredictable. But I think with Forest now, a lot of Premier League fans, a lot of fans from Forest probably will wonder how it's gone to this place, because last season they were competing for European spots. They're doing what Brentford are doing now, on the cusp of European football. And now they're just sitting 2 points above the drop zone, which is just crazy. And you wouldn't expect this from Forest, because I actually think they have, on paper, a good side. They have good players. Morgan Gibbs-White, Elliot Anderson, Murillo, Cells in goal, Igor Jesus up top. I think he's a handful for defenders. I think they have a good squad on paper, in all pillars of the pitch. So it really just ultimately does come down to management, and that's why I think the sacking of Nuno was a bit controversial, because I feel like he was the manager that did accomplish that European spot last season. So sacking him based on a bad start to the season, I mean, it's a hit or miss, right, with the management. And obviously I think he fell out with Mr. Marinakis. That's probably why he got sacked. Ange was a stupid appointment. I don't think that should have ever happened. And now, after sacking Ange and learning from that mistake, they've gone and sacked Sean Dyche again. So I don't know. With Forest, it's just like it seems a bit of a circus right now with the management. I don't think this is more on Dyche. I think this is more on the management. I think it's just bad decision after bad decision after bad decision, and it's reflected on where they are on the table right now. Forest are probably a good example as to why you should run a football club properly. You should run it, with a plan, with processes. And if you don't, you're ultimately facing the consequence. So I don't know. I think with Forest, it'll be interesting to see what the new manager has. Can they stay up in the Premier League? I think that's their ultimate aim. Can they not get relegated? That's the aim with Forest right now. You got to just keep it simple, get results, grind results out, stay above the drop zone, and start again next summer. So the Thomas Frank and Sean Dyche sacked in the same day. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm going to try and stay consistent about uploading. So if you guys are new to the channel, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.